Welcome back, starting a new series today, step-by-step guide on how to build a coffee table. That sounds interesting, stick around. Welcome to the Woodgrafter. I'm Andy Guile. Our mission here is to inspire, educate and support you in your journey to becoming a better woodworker. We do that through a whole variety of videos, taking you step by step in how to build something, series such as this one, tools, tips, tricks, techniques, safe usage, and as well as specialist videos that deep dive into subjects of interest. So if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing now. Leave me a thumbs up, get in touch, and with that said, let's get cracking. As you can see, I've got a whole host of wood in the workshop. It's been acclimatizing now for a couple of weeks and we're ready to start the journey on making our coffee table. In this episode, I want to take you through the plans and make a start on preparing all the stock so we can store it safely. Let's look at those plans. So this is what we're going to build. It's a coffee table. It's designed to go in between two sofas on a rug inside the customer's house. If you're interested how we got to the plans, I've made a full series on that walks you step by step from the concept through to the conceptual plan, through to the detailed design and through to this plan that we're going to use today. So check that out, see what you think. In the plans you're going to find the normal disclaimer. You're then going to see the high level picture of what it is that we're going to build. You can then start to see the dimensions. So our coffee table is going to be 1,240 millimeters long at the top and it's going to stand at 500 millimeters high. The entire construction, certainly the visible parts, are going to be made out of American white oak, and the internal frame that gives it the support somewhere for the drawers to sit is going to be made out of tulip, poplar wood. The top itself is going to be 13 millimeters thick and it's going to have legs of 470 millimeters. We're going for quite a chunky design on the legs, 80 millimeters by 80 millimeters, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 drawers on this design, so it's a double front design. So you can use it from this side or from this side, obviously allowing for those two sofas. You're also going to see the cutting list. It's going to give you each of the unique part numbers, the sub-assembly, either the leg or the stretcher, the end assembly, top, drawers, so on and so forth, the description of each item that we need, how many of those items that we need, the thickness, width and length pre-milled, because obviously we're going to use a planer thicknesser to bring our rough stock down to size. The material, either American white oak or poplar, where you're going to find that on the layout diagram for cutting your parts, and then the final finished sizes of the components. New to our diagrams, I'm also including a bill of materials here, so this shows you exactly what you need to order in terms of the rough stock, the type of material here, the nominal sizes of the boards that you get, how many of those boards that you need. And what I do as it comes in here, I then make a note of what I've actually received. And as you can see, I've ordered an extra piece here, which is what I tend to do just to start to build up the stock. You're then going to see the cutting diagrams. Each cutting diagram is uniquely named. So you can see this one is A1. It's American white oak. It's 26 millimeters thick. It's 200 millimeters wide and it's 3 meters long. You can see I'm allowing for a saw kerf of 3.2 millimeters. The one I use is 2.4, so it gives me a bit of wiggle room. And you can see I've laid out on here the various parts. So you can see on piece A1, I'm going to get the part number 6, which is the stretcher top, the stretcher top, the stretcher top and stretcher top, 4 stretcher tops. And if you look back on here, part number 6 is the stretchers and we need 4 of them. It's also going to give me the internal dividers and the 2 end panels, and as well as part number 9 here, which are the end assembly, the internal dividers. They're just small front pieces that you see on the final product. So this is going to give you all the layout of all that, and obviously each of these panels here relates directly back to something you've ordered on the bill of materials. So that makes it really easy for you to get the rough stock in, work out which piece of rough stock is which, and then lay your components that you need out on that rough stock, maximising the material that you've got. So that's a new thing I'm introducing into the plans, and hopefully you're going to find that very useful. And that's going to take you through every single part that you need for this project. And there's a lot of them. And then we get the diagrams that's going to take us step by step through the overall construction of the table. Now, as always, the plans are available over on the website www.thewoodgrafter.com. Look at the top, it either says downloads or free plans. Now, eventually the plans will move to be part of the courses inside the website, so at some point you will need to register. So depending on when you're watching this video, you can either download directly from the homepage, or you need to register, look at the course associated to the coffee table, and you can download the plans from there. Now, the first thing I need to do is to identify this stock. I've just got a big pile here of rough cut timber, combination of oak, combination of poplar. And the problem you're going to have with a small workshop, of course, is that's taking up all my bench room. So the first thing I want to do is to identify each of these pieces, which part is which, and then break that down just using the cross cuts so I can minimize the length of this, and then I can store that here in my workshop, it's a convenient area, out of the way. So my material is ready to get at, but I've got my working space back. So let's look at how we break down this material. So the first thing I do is to measure it, and I just write on top of this in chalk what it is. So you can see that this is a piece of oak, it's 2.7 meters long, it's 220 meters wide, and it's around about 50 millimeters deep. And each piece of material I do the same thing for. So as it comes into the workshop and I'm unloading it, a quick measure, just using standard chalk, I can then write on it what that component is, and that makes it easier to identify. What I then need to do to say, so what component is that in terms of our plans? So I know this is a piece of oak, I know it's 2.7 meters long, 220 wide, and nominally 50 millimeters deep. So I can now come to my cutting diagrams, and I'm looking for that piece of oak. And there it is. C1 is American white oak, 51 millimeters thick, 200 millimeters wide, and 2 meters long. And that is this piece of wood. Now, what you notice here, although I ordered that size, 51 millimeters, 200 millimeters by 2 meters, actually I got 2.7 meters in length, 220 wide, and it's around about 54 millimeters thick. I just scribbled the nominal 50 on there for simplicity. So you also tend to get more when you're ordering rough cut than you do when you're getting milled to size. Don't always rely on that, always order what you need, but you'll get extra stock. And that extra stock comes in quite handy because we can do other projects down the line with the remainder. Great tip. So, I know that this is piece number C1. Now, I don't want to be storing a 2.7 meter length of material. So I want to break this down now into the rough sizes, the rough length sizes of the parts I need. So you can see the cutting diagrams I've actually designed where they facilitate where I possibly can cross cuts. So I can take our piece of oak and I can rip it down into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts and some left over. And I don't need to worry about creating each of these individual parts. I just want to take that section, a 4.72 millimeter section. So I'm going to rip this oak down now over on the Capex to those dimensions. Let's lay that out. So now I can just come in again with my chalk and I'll just take a reference edge, and this one will do. It's not going to be precise. This reference edge is not used for anything other than cross-cutting this material to give me some rough sizes. We'll lay this thing up and get things square as we go through the milling process. So I'll just lose some length on the end. I don't want it to be that end piece. It tends to be snapped around an awful lot and not very, very good material. I now want 472, so we'll be generous and we'll give ourselves a 500 length and we will square that off. It's not going to be precise, as long as you're not underneath the 472 millimeters, you're good enough. 500. $500. $500. So I now know I'm going to cut this piece of wood into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of 500 millimeters long. Now I want to be able to reference these further down the line, so I create a reference code. This one is going to be C11, so it's piece number C1 and it's piece 1 out of that board. C12, C13 and C14. I then take these numbers C11, C12, C13 and C14, and again using my chalk I write that onto these pieces. C11, C12, C13, C14 and spare. With that done, it's simply a matter of cross-cutting these using the Capex and storing these for later use. Now everything's set up, we know where we're going to cut, we've got to cross-cut this, everything's labelled up, it's referenced back to our plans, so now I can just come in and cross-cut this to size. And there you go, that's all my stock broken down into component parts, neatly stored away so it's not in the way. And now I can start on the first step, which is looking at the tabletop, and we'll look at that in the next episode.